starting with Michael Calder. He's an independent researcher and investigator. He wrote a book, JFK versus CIA, and he's been doing extensive work in the Robert Kennedy police files recently, so he has some information to present about that. We'll have some questions with him. Summer's got updates on the file, Teeter's files, and the legal case, and then we'll have the film. So this is Michael Calder.
I'm going to be mercifully short. 5 minutes. I'm going to give you one theory. But you're the one who asked about the Secret Service agents. Yeah? I've been asking great JFK questions, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
The House Select Committee, one of the charges was to find out who these men were. They knew from '64 there's fake Secret Service agents. This is one of the reasons we had the House Select Committee. They brought in a guy named Lieutenant Colonel Robert E. Jones, head of Army Intelligence, Southern Command, which means all of Latin America. He's being grilled in executive session. He tells them I had 8 to 12 Army intelligence officers assisting Kennedy in Dallas. Of course, one of those guys is arrested in the Texas School Book Depository, one of his Army intelligence agents, Powell. So then they ask him the big question. If your guys were approached and they were asked who they were, what would they have said? Would they have said, Army intelligence? He said, no. We would have said that we were with Secret Service. So it's his guys who got the fake Secret Service IDs. They're assisting in the assassination. There's another group of Army intelligence agents at the back exit of the School Book Depository. Motorcycle cop goes around the back trying to catch a guy if he runs out the back. Comes across a group of men in suits standing there, heavily armed. He says, who are you? He goes, we're Secret Service. So he just says, fine, and he runs into the School Book Depository. So they got fake Secret Service agents right there. Of course, they're there to make sure the guy who's shooting from up top runs out the back. They're going to make sure nobody stops them. And they're at the grassy knoll because they're giving protection to the guys who are shooting from there. But it's Army intelligence, so it's not just CIA.
What about Treasury agents behind the knoll? In fact, the Treasury...
There's Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, yeah. That's the Treasury agents.
Right.
I don't know if they're behind the knoll, but I know they're running into the School Book Depository. I've never seen any of their reports. So we know they're there because they're referenced, but I never saw any of those reports in those 26 volumes of hearings and exhibits.
Oh, they gave the committee the runaround. They said our records don't go back that far, and the head of Treasury at the time says, I can't remember where my men were that time. And some of the agents interviewed said they can't remember where they were that day.
Here's something of interest, because when my book came out, years ago, a lady who used to work in the CIA asked to see me through my brother, and went to North, and very beautiful woman, she married well, left. And I asked her about, if you're a CIA agent and you're doing stuff in the U.S., you can't flip out CIA identification. What kind of identification did you guys use stateside? And she looked at me like I just asked the dumbest question. And she said, Treasury.
Oh, yeah?
They use Bureau of Alcohol stuff. That's the ID for CIA agents back then when they're doing work stateside.
Huh.
So it's got a big picture of George Bush.
Point here.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the CIA issues identification from a variety of agencies, including the Air Force, the various military branches, and so on, depending on what their cover happens to be.
That makes sense, huh?
Oh, yeah, it would make sense.
Okay, so on RFK, got interested a couple years ago after I saw a play. I just went down to the Central Library, read a 1,500-page summary report, no names, just for intellectual exercise, right? They told me to go up to California State Archives. They had more material. I went up there, spent a week up there, read the transcripts of the trial, read the 1,500-page summary report again, this time with names, really better with names, listened to many of the tapes. When I listened to Vince DiPiero's tape, 4 a.m., and those tapes are great up there. You hear the noises, you hear people dropping stuff on desks, and the detectives are going, so what can you tell us about this? So when I heard Vince at 4 a.m. in his first interview describing in detail the polka dot dress girl with Sirhan at the tray stand. And I'm thinking, so she really does exist. I'm thinking, what else is LA not telling us? And I said, oh no, not again. You know, one conspiracy per life is enough. I did not want to go to a second one because it consumes you. But then I started thinking about Kennedy. You know, he's willing to get shot, then I ought to be willing to do a little bit of work. So between July and December, I read the complete LAPD investigation files. I wanted to really give you a really good address today, but William Pepper interviewed me yesterday, and what I wanted to tell you, he said, not now. He wants to use it at the trial, I guess. But let me give you something, well, not equally, but pretty good, okay? Right now it's just theory. And theory and $1 give me a cup of coffee. I have not proved this yet. $2. Yeah. Maybe the FBI files, which I have not read completely yet. I thought I had. I read 5,000 pages, but then Shane tells me there's 17,000 on disk. So I got to read those next. But here's what I got. I'm looking at the pantry. Sirhan's there, the polka dot dress girl's there, the professional gunman is there, probably a CIA team is there. They're not there by happenstance. So it has to be part of the plot. First thing J. Edgar Hoover asked his LA office, find out who's responsible for bringing Kennedy into the pantry. Because if there's a conspiracy, whoever decided that, who's ever in charge of that, is part of it. LAPD said the same thing. So I kept that in the back of my mind, right? So I'm looking at it, and they're there for a reason. So that means in a week or two before, this is how it's going to be. Kennedy's going to give a speech. He's going to be taken out into the pantry. He's going to be shot. That's how it's going to be. So I'm thinking, well, if I was CIA, what can I do to affect it, and what can I not do? What I can do is I can make sure that Sirhan's there, the girl's there, the shooter's there. I can pick the pantry. What I have no control over is Kennedy's movements. So I need someone to help me. So I need someone who's has a responsibility and the trust of Kennedy to move Kennedy around. I need that guy on my side. I need a Judas goat. I need someone on the inside of Kennedy's camp who's willing to betray him. So I'm thinking, well, who's in charge of the movements? And then I find out, well, the ones who are in charge of Kennedy's movements are the advance men, strictly the advance men. If Kennedy was going to give a speech here today, an advance man would have come in a week ago. He would have said, let's not park on Lincoln, let's park on the side, let's not go through the front, let's go through the side door, then we'll bring him down here. That's all the advance man's work, nobody else's work. Now, things almost got screwed up because on the 5th floor, men who are not on the advance team and who are not planning on bringing Kennedy into the pantry to die, they decide, hey, let's Kennedy gives a speech, we'll bring him downstairs, we'll talk to the overflow crowd, we'll go out to the car, hit the factory. That's what they're deciding, but these guys are on Kennedy's team. So they almost saved his life. But Kennedy comes down and gives a speech, so logically there has to be someone right where you guys are who's one of the advance men who has the power and the authority to change what these guys upstairs just said.
This way, Senator.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. I'm trying to figure out who said this way, Senator, because he's either one of them or he was told to say that. I'll get to that in 1 second. Remind me if I forget, all right? So someone's on the ground floor. Now, what's the guy who takes credit? Dudden? Fred Dudden loves to take credit. I made the decision and it was hot and the East Coast people got to get there. Of course, the East Coast is closed. Those reporters can't get anything out to the newspapers. But he says he made the decision, right? But from everything I've read, Fred Dudden and Barry, they're the guys who are responsible for bringing Kennedy from point A to point B in one piece. They're not the ones who decide where point A is and where point B is. That's the advance men who do that. So I'm thinking one of the advance men are down there, right? So I get my whole file of advance men. There's like 8 or 9 of them. I know at least one, probably 2 are traitors. I got to figure out which one, right? So I'm reading all those LAPD files, and I come to guys whose name I knew, Jerry Bruno. It says the advance men, and it says no interview. I'm thinking, wait, I just read 4,700 interviews, and they're not going to interview the head advance man, the man who's in charge of Kennedy's movements. I know he's in charge because they asked Stephen Smith, LAPD, and said, who's in charge of Kennedy's movements? He doesn't say Fred Dudden. He doesn't say Bill Barry's in charge. He says, what's his name's in charge, right? So I say, well, that's interesting. Let me go get the Jerry Bruno file from the JFK Presidential Library. So I type it up on the computer, and I find it. And everything Jerry Bruno's ever done his whole life for the Kennedys, going back to the 50s, is there. Except April, May, and June, 68. It's not there. That's the presidential campaign of Robert Kennedy. How can it not be there? Where is it? I call up, I ask for it. They call me back and say, we don't know where it is. They have no idea. I said, well, did you ever have it? I don't know. They don't know nothing, right? So now I'm doubly suspicious because his public papers of April, May, and June should be there, unless someone read them and said, hey, you know what? Somebody kind of smart can put two and two together and finger Jerry. Well, I go back about a month later, and now it says something else. It says, something to the effect, all the Jerry Bruno papers are off limits for this at this time. So someone did not want me to see the Jerry Bruno things, and they're probably going through all the Jerry Bruno papers to see, what did this guy say that he probably shouldn't have said. But so far, that's just a theory. Now, if Jerry Bruno and the advance man says, well, I was there, I really wanted to stay there, but they convinced me to go to New York, and I caught the 10 o'clock plane. Maybe he did or maybe he didn't. I'm supposed to believe it because he says he did? It seems to me it's too important to make sure Kennedy is taken back through the pantry that he probably is there. But nobody can tell me he's there. I got one girl who I tracked down, and she said he was there, and she was standing with him, and they listened to the speech, and as they were walking through the embassy room, Kennedy gets shot. When I tracked her down, she said, no, that was a different Jerry. Jerry Bruno got me in to the embassy room at 8 o'clock, but at 11 o'clock, that was a different Jerry. Okay, but it's over the phone. I can't see if she's lying, if I'm talking to her. I don't know if she's telling the truth. Maybe she is, all right? But if Jerry Bruno is not there, he's got another advance man who's running the show, whose responsibility is to deliver Kennedy into the kill zone. And I'm pretty certain Dudden did not make that decision on his own. I'm pretty certain, and I have not proved it yet, that while Kennedy's giving his speech, the advance man or men are saying, holy shit, they just changed it. We can't shoot him. He's going to go down this way. He's going to go out to the car, change it, flip it back. And they go to Jerry and to Bill, and they say, look, forget about it. Forget about going downstairs. You're seeing it on TV. Just take him back through the pantry, okay? That's where we get to hear. Now, if Dudden's so sharp and he's so much in command of everything, why does he not know Kennedy's going to go out the back door? He thinks they're going to go down here, or Barry thinks he's going to go there. He doesn't. He starts moving this way. Someone says, this way, Senator, and it's not Carl Euchre. Euchre has a big, thick German accent. It's got to be someone else. Maybe Eddie Manassian. But if Eddie Manassian, who's like a maitre d' there, or he's in charge of something else there. Catering, thanks. Someone's telling him, go get Kennedy and take him out the back. Now what that does is, it effectively takes away his bodyguards, because his bodyguards are here. He's there, he goes to the back. I've been trying really hard to find out who's backstage, because Manassian says, well, we went backstage and it was really dark, and the Kennedy staff people, and they talked for 30 seconds, and they told Bob, no, we can go this way. And Carl Euchre says pretty much the same thing. But I can't identify those people who are back there. I think it's Pierre Salinger, Mankiewicz, but I'm wondering if it's one of I'm wondering who else is back there. So that's just a theory right now, so keep in mind, everything I said if you ever hear this guy's name. I think he's still alive. Here's the thing that kind of boggled my mind. Jerry Bruno was also the advance man on Kennedy's trip to Dallas. So we got the main advance man with the Kennedys since the 50s, completely trusted, and I'm highly suspicious that he's been the CIA's inside man all along. They had someone right next to both Kennedys. So keep in mind that about Jerry Bruno. The other stuff I'll tell you another time and you'll be shocked. Any questions on JFK? 'Cause